The storm over the alien capital of Elindra carried an electric hum that night, the kind that settled deep into the bones of anyone who stood beneath it. For weeks, the planet had been under siege. Towers once bright with light now burned with smoke. The royal citadel, a crystal fortress once known for its beauty, now echoed only with the silence of despair. Inside it sat the alien queen, alone, unmoving, and lost in memories. She had ruled with wisdom and grace, her people united by peace. But peace was fragile. The war had come without warning, sparked by those who sought the minerals buried beneath Elindra's ground. When the first attack hit, her daughter, her only child, was taken in the chaos. That moment had hollowed her soul. Every morning she stood at the grand balcony, looking across the ruined fields, waiting for a rescue that never came, until the humans arrived. At first, she distrusted them. Humans were small, fragile creatures by her standards. But their courage was different. It burned steady and bright even against the unknown. They came not to conquer but to help. A coalition of soldiers and medics under the Earth Alliance flag landed after intercepting distress calls from Elindra. Among them was one soldier who stood out not for strength, but for silence. His name was Ryan. Ryan had seen more battlefields than he cared to remember. He had joined the rescue unit not for glory, but for purpose. When the Queen requested aid to find her missing daughter, others hesitated. The jungles of Elindra were thick with traps and creatures born of strange evolution. But Ryan simply nodded and prepared his gear. "I'll bring her back," he said, quietly. The Queen's golden eyes had watched him go without reply, but in her heart, a flicker of hope returned for the first time in years. The journey to the enemy's encampment was long and merciless. The air was thick with radiation mist, the ground littered with fragments of alien metal and scorched soil. Ryan moved carefully through it all. He relied not only on his weapons but on instincts sharpened by too many wars. Each night he camped beneath twisted trees, scanning the sky for drones. Each dawn he pressed forward, guided by faint energy signals that matched the tracking beacon once worn by the Queen's daughter. After 7 days, he found the signal coming from deep within the canyon of Virex. The canyon was a wound carved into the planet's surface, filled with the humming of strange life forms and the glow of alien crystals. At its center stood a fortress of black metal, an enemy outpost. Ryan climbed silently, his breath measured. He knew one mistake would end everything. Inside, he found prisoners, many Elindrans, thin and weak from captivity, but none matched the Queen's description until he reached a small chamber guarded by drones. There, in the dim light, sat a young alien girl, her silver skin dulled with dirt, her eyes tired but unbroken. She looked no older than 10 by human standards. Around her wrist glowed the faint beacon light. Ryan crouched beside her and whispered, "It's okay. Your mother sent me." For a moment, the child just stared, unsure whether this strange creature of flesh and armor was real. Then she reached out, touching his gloved hand as if to confirm it. Her fingers trembled. "You're human?" she whispered softly. He nodded. "And I'm here to take you home." The escape was chaos. Once the alarms blared, the fortress erupted in flashing lights and mechanical screams. Ryan carried the girl in his arms as plasma bolts scorched the air. He moved through smoke and ruin, shielding her with his own body. His armor cracked, his energy shield flickered, but he never slowed. The child held tightly to his neck, whispering, "Don't stop." They reached the edge of the canyon just as the fortress exploded behind them. The blast threw them forward. When Ryan opened his eyes, he was lying in the dust, pain burning through his chest. But the girl was alive. She looked at him, tears cutting through the dust on her face. "You saved me," she said. He smiled faintly. "That's my job." For 3 days they traveled back through the wastelands, avoiding patrols, surviving. On ration packs and water he purified from the air. He told her stories of Earth to keep her calm, stories of oceans that never ended, of forests that sang in the wind, of people who never gave up even when everything seemed lost. The girl listened, her fear slowly replaced by wonder. Humans sound brave, she said one night by the campfire. Ryan chuckled. We're not perfect, but we try. When they finally reached the outskirts of the capital, the Queen's guards spotted them first. The entire city seemed to hold its breath as word spread. The gates opened and the Queen herself came down the grand steps, her long robes trailing behind her. She had aged from sorrow, but her eyes were sharp with disbelief. The girl slipped from Ryan's arms and ran forward. "Mom, I'm home," she cried. Her voice echoed through the courtyard. For a moment the Queen didn't move. Then, as realization broke through her composure, she ran too, fast, desperate, like a mother awakening from a nightmare. When they met, she dropped to her knees and pulled her daughter close, holding her so tightly that even the guards turned away out of respect. Tears streamed down her face. The golden crown fell from her head, forgotten. "My child," she whispered, again and again. "You're home. You're safe." The girl pointed back toward Ryan. "He saved me." Ryan stood at a distance, helmet in hand, his uniform torn and burned, his face lined with exhaustion. The Queen rose slowly, her gaze falling upon him. She crossed the courtyard and stopped before him. For a long moment she said nothing, only studying the human who had done what no army could. Then, in a voice filled with quiet emotion, she said, "You brought back my heart." Ryan bowed slightly. "She's a strong one. She found her courage before I found her." The Queen looked back at her daughter, then to him again. "You risked your life for someone not of your kind. Why?" He hesitated before answering. "Because no mother should live with that kind of pain." Her eyes softened. For a ruler used to diplomacy and power, his words cut deeper than any formal speech. She extended her hand. "Then you are more than soldier. You are friend." The crowd, silent until then, erupted in cheers. Elendrans and humans alike raised their voices, not for war or conquest, but for the return of life, of hope. Later, as the celebration spread across the capital, Ryan sat quietly on the edge of a balcony, watching the stars. He could hear laughter below, the sound of joy that had been absent from this world for too long. The Queen joined him, no longer in her crown but dressed simply like any mother. "She won't sleep without asking about you," the Queen said gently. Ryan smiled faintly. "She's brave. She'll be fine now." The Queen studied him for a moment. "You humans are strange, fragile, yet you carry something powerful. You remind us that strength is not in armor or energy weapons, but in heart." Ryan looked at the horizon. "We learned that the hard way." The Queen turned her gaze to the stars. "My people once thought themselves superior. We measured worth by energy and power. But now I see, we were blind. You've taught us something we had forgotten." "What's that?" he asked. "That courage needs no shape or species." Ryan didn't reply. The silence between them was calm, filled with understanding. When dawn came, the Queen led a ceremony at the Citadel's courtyard. The entire population gathered to honor those who had fought for peace. At the center stood a small platform with two flags, one of Elendra, the other of Earth, side by side. The Queen spoke before her people. "Today," she said, "we celebrate not victory but reunion. A child lost has returned, and with her we remember that compassion crosses the stars." She paused, her gaze finding Ryan among the crowd. "May our worlds never forget what one human's heart has done for an entire race." The cheers that followed echoed into the mountains. For generations, the story would be told. The human who crossed battlefields to return a daughter to her mother. The soldier who carried hope through fire. After the ceremony, Ryan prepared to leave. His mission was complete, and other worlds still needed help. The Queen met him one last time at the landing bay. "Must you go?" she asked softly. He nodded. "There are others who need rescuing." She smiled sadly. "Then take with you our gratitude. You've given back what no weapon could. You've given us peace. As the engines of his ship roared to life, the young princess ran up to him. "Will I see you again?" she asked. Ryan knelt and handed her a small object, a pendant made from Earth's ocean glass. "When you look at the stars, I'll be out there somewhere, making sure others find their way home." The girl hugged him tightly, tears falling. "Thank you," he smiled. "Stay brave." As the ship rose into the sky, the queen and her daughter watched until it vanished among the clouds. The queen placed her hand over her heart and whispered, "May the stars guide you, human." In the years that followed, Elendra rebuilt. The queen ruled with renewed compassion, often reminding her people of the lesson she learned from humanity. Statues of the nameless soldier were raised not as monuments of war, but of kindness. Children were taught that bravery has no borders. And, sometimes when the night grew still and the stars shimmered brighter than usual, the queen would think of that soldier who crossed a broken world to bring back her child. She would smile softly and whisper the same words her daughter had said that day, "He saved me." For in the vast silence of the universe, the story of one human's heart continued to shine brighter than any star.